Episode 18 of Griddyiron Gang. What we got for you today is a Week 7 recap and a Week 8 preview. This will be the schedule for next week as well, but the week after we'll get back to our regular scheduled programming. To stick to it right now, though, Week 7 recap starting with Thursday Night Football. We had the New Orleans Saints on the road at the Arizona Cardinals. Oh, man, we finally got a good game on Thursday. Some high scoring,
it was fun.
some points. But for me, I feel like for the second week in a row, the better team ended up losing the game.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree with that.
First half, Andy Dalton throws 3 picks. One, his fault for sure, in the end zone. Not going to blame anybody but him. Second, off his receiver's hands. You could blame quarterback or the receiver on that one. Third one, hit as he throws. But those second two, taken back to the crib for pick sixes. That was really the difference in this game, man.
Brutal.
Arizona was able to move the ball a little bit. Kyler Murray with just over 200 yards, and the offense did put up 28 points to contribute to those 14 by the defense. But this was D-Hop's return. He did have a productive game. Trouble with this Arizona defense, though, giving up a lot of yards, 400 pass yards to this New Orleans offense with those interceptions. So you have to imagine if those didn't occur.
They're not fully healthy.
No.
I just think this, I didn't see this coming from this game at all, especially 42 points for the Cardinals. Like if you would have told me that before the game, I would say you're crazy. Like even if D-Hop's coming back. I mean, and you could tell throughout the game, like him and Kyler were like not on the same page a lot of the times. They're constantly going back to the sideline talking about it and whatever. But he was productive, and it's only going to get go up from here. That's why I'm kind of nervous about our game this week against them, especially with our defense. But yeah, I don't know. If the Saints were fully healthy, I think it would have been a different outcome. But at the end of the day, those 2 pick sixes were the backbreaker. Like that's hard to overcome. And I think what was it, like the last 3 minutes of the second quarter?
Yeah,
like
2 maybe.
That's brutal. Like you don't. But that's what comes with Andy Dalton starting. Like you're gonna have shit like that to deal with him sometimes. Now I can't say confidently or for surely like Jameis would have done any better because we really haven't been able to see him consistently the last 2 years. So when he's in there, he's got to help turn this thing around for this team because they're a playoff quality team if they're playing at full strength and playing together and whatever. But this is at least it was a high scoring affair on a Thursday night. That's all I can say.
That's really all we can ask for at this point.
Yeah.
Next week we have another team at Thursday, Tampa Bay. We'll get to their game right now. Trouble in paradise, man.
Man,
I guess happy life is true in some cases, man. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking the loss to Carolina 3-21. So on the road, that's definitely a big loss. 3 points. Very unexpected of this offense.
To a team that's just
tanking.
In a dumpster fire right now. Like everything's going wrong with them. Like what can go wrong will go wrong with the Carolina Panthers. It's an interim coach. They just traded CMC to the 49ers.
Robbie Anderson,
the
Cardinals.
It's they're up in flames right now. And for Tampa Bay, who's looking to get back to the Super Bowl, that's not a game you should lose like that in that fashion. Like if you get upset, you get upset if it's like by a field goal or maybe a touchdown. But 21-3, you got worked all game by a terrible squad. I don't know what to say. Like I'm never gonna until like it's his last down forever. Like for sure, I'm never gonna count out Tom Brady. So I don't know. A lot of it to me is I think the defense isn't living up to its potential, and they lack a running game in a serious way, and it's not helping Brady at all. So that's tough.
Yeah, defense is definitely shaky after a strong start. Wide receivers aren't healthy, and the running game is non-existent. So if you're relying on a 45-year-old quarterback to lead you through the regular season, that's really not the formula for success.
No, and when he's at his best with Tampa Bay, it's when Fournette's doing damage on the ground.
Yep, then you can play action and your guys have more space in the open field. It's just not working out there in Tampa Bay right now. But like you said, not a guy I'm going to count out, especially this next week.
Yep.
Carolina, on the other hand, They're trading everybody on the offense, but the defense still remains good. And that's pretty much the reason why I thought this team could be successful in the beginning of the season. You have Derek Brown, Brian Burns, J.C. Horn. So a guy at each level that could be considered very good to elite. So I think the defense is really going to play well for the rest of the season. P.J. Walker, I don't know if he's going to be able to keep up performances like this, but he did play very well against his Tampa Bay defense, which was surprising.
Yeah, he's just not a guy that I can fully trust yet. I mean, you look at where the state of the organization is in right now, and it's just like, how can you trust anyone on that team, let alone one of three quarterbacks that you have? And I mean, who knows if we're going to see, well, I'm guessing we'll see Darnold at some point just because, like, they're in total tank rebuild mode, all that. So it's just, I don't know if Wilkes can do anything to, make himself a priority hire as a permanent head coach there. So that's a tough position to get put in when that organization is already in the state that they started the season in. Like,
no question.
Like that's like almost unfair to the guy who has to take over that spot that Matt Rule had. I mean, Matt Rule didn't leave you with anything good. So it's tough. I mean, it's tough out in Carolina, and to be a fan of that team would be terrible right now. But they got it done this past week against Tampa Bay. I think it says more about where Tampa's at than where Carolina. I mean, Carolina has nothing to lose. So
do you think the future is bright in Carolina? They didn't have any draft picks this past year. They recouped some of those with the McCaffrey trade. I think they do have a first round pick next year, so they can maybe get that quarterback.
I feel like
I don't know if they do have.
I think they're at least a couple years away from sniffing the playoffs. I mean, I don't see them being a threat to really anyone. They are who they are right now. They got a lot of room to grow, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
That's for sure. Trading away Robbie doesn't hurt or doesn't help, but having those two running backs back there that doesn't hurt. I mean,
yeah. But I mean, if you can get production out of Chubbard, if he can Chuba Hubbard or whatever his name is, he ran pretty well against Tampa Bay. I don't know who he was switching off with. I don't recall, but the running game looked decent for them on Sunday. Which I mean,
Deontay Foreman.
That's right.
Yeah.
But to me, like I said, it just says a lot more about where Tampa Bay is out, where Tom Brady's at. Like, neither Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers look good this season.
No, that's why I kind of wanted to lump these games together. Because that was the next one. Two quarterbacks who are definitely top 10 all time. Definitely was surprising outcomes this week. Aaron Rodgers losing 20-23 against the Washington Commanders team that is also in a spiral, losing their starting quarterback 4 to 6 weeks and losing to a backup quarterback themselves.
But I will say that I did kind of mention it the last episode where I said if there's anyone who can go out and do it because he has chemistry with these guys already, it's Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
It's that team looked a lot more comfortable out there against Green Bay with him behind center than Carson Wentz. I mean, Carson Wentz, I just think like he's if he gets a job, it's as a backup. Like he's his starting days are done.
Yeah.
And they'd be dumb to go back to him this year. I mean, you got to ride it out with Taylor Heineke, who I think provides a lot more upside than Wentz at this stage in his career. And I mean, you clearly saw it on Sunday if you were watching the game. Like, he has a lot more chemistry with Terry McLaurin than Carson Wentz does.
Yeah, for sure.
And so when you can have that chemistry with your quarterback and top wide receiver, that goes a long ways than a new quarterback in the system with your top receiver who's not putting up any numbers, which is, Terry McLaurin to me is like one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. So you got to do what you got to do to keep your guys happy out there who you do intend on keeping and being a part of your long-term plans. Mm-hmm. And I think we all know Carson Wentz isn't a part of that. So, man, Taylor Heineke probably isn't either. But at the same time, you got to ride the hot hand. You got to ride the guy who's shows the most chemistry with the guys out there on the field with him. And to me, that just leads to Taylor Heineke. And it wasn't a pretty game by any means, either team, but I liked what I saw out of Washington this week compared to the other weeks that they've been playing. Mm-hmm. And the Green Bay side of things, that defense was supposed to be top 5 this year or whatever, and they look suspect as hell. Your coaching is very questionable with the play calling and everything like that. You're barely getting Jones and Dillon the usage they need.
It's a lot of the same questions we have in Tampa.
I mean, it's
injuries on the offensive
line. You got Aaron Rodgers shaking his head, complaining every other play
because he's throwing tablets.
Like it's
almost the same picture.
And I'll say this about Aaron Rodgers, like, number one, he kind of put himself in that situation by wanting the contract he did. That puts your team in a bind because they can't go out and give you the guys you want to have on this team for you.
Right.
But at the same time, leading up to that contract extension they gave him, they were already doing nothing for him throughout his whole time there. So I mean, he probably said, well, fuck it. Like, let's just ride it out, make as much money as we can, and then retire because I'm good. Like, he clearly is a guy who is all about himself and not about the team, not about winning a Super Bowl. I mean, he got one back with Mike McCarthy in 2010 or whatever it was, but ever since then, it's just he's cool with just putting up his numbers, going about his business. He likes winning games, obviously. Everyone likes winning games, but when you consistently shit the bed in the playoffs, when you're one of the top teams, it raises a lot of questions around that organization. And I just feel like it just seems like Rodgers is at the point where I wouldn't be surprised if he retired after the season with how bad this team is going in the wrong direction.
You know, I wouldn't put it past him.
He does what he does what he wants to do. He's a prima donna. He likes the attention on him. Everything. I mean, it's kind of like the LeBron factor. Like, you got to be talked about.
People aren't gonna like that.
I'm just saying, like, I mean, you throw on a morning talk show, ESPN, Fox Sports 1, or whatever. It's the same topics every other day.
It is,
and it revolves around the same players all the time. And then it's like, it's almost like it's frying my brain even watching it, because like, what else am I learning throughout sports besides what you guys talk about every other day? Like, it's crazy to me. It's just, I mean, you got Rodgers, you're always talking about Brady, LeBron. Like, it's just a repetitive Dallas Cowboys. It's just a repetitive cycle, and it's just like, man. But I mean, like I was saying, I'm never gonna count out Tom Brady, but I would, and I feel more comfortable counting out Aaron Rodgers in that team over Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay still has a chance to get something going, maybe a string of games put together for wins, but
especially with the division they're in.
You look at Green Bay's schedule coming up, and it's brutal. Like, you can, and to not have a bye week for that team till week 14, you're trying to piece a lot together on the fly, and like, you got a lot of offensive weapons, mainly rookies that or wide receivers that are rookies and new people to the system. And it's just people are dropping balls like crazy. They're making mental mistakes, and it's like, you can't. That shit kind of goes away on its own, and no one can ever know how long it's gonna last.
Right?
Because I mean, every athlete has a tendency to shake that rust off at some point, but you can go fucking months before that happens,
right? Before
it clicks, and you're just in a groove. But he's not happy. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is not happy with Romeo Doubs. He's not happy with anyone. I mean, every time they're out there, he's giving Lazard the Devontae Adams treatment. He's just targeting him the whole time. And you can't compare Lazard to Devontae Adams. So they're screwed in that sense.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit down here and talk shit about the Packers, because it always blows in my face because I'm a Vikings fan. But at the end of the day, it's funny to see them go through such a rough patch with Aaron Rodgers as quarterback.
I hear you. They are definitely in trouble. I think you for sure have 6 teams right now that are going to be in the playoffs. Probably 3 out of the NFC East, you guys, 1 out of the NFC South, and 1 out of the NFC West probably. So you'll be battling with one of those teams in the NFC West that's 3-3.
Yeah.
Right now you're 3-4, I believe. So I don't believe you're going to catch the Vikings. They already beat you. You have a tough game coming up this week, and that's going to put you in a hole that's
especially if
too
we
deep
win.
to get out of. Especially if you win, yes, which is very possible.
Yeah,
I don't think your opponent's going to be that difficult to take
but
down.
You never know how a team comes out of bye.
You don't,
and that's the scary part. You got D-Hop back there getting more of that cohesiveness amongst them and getting a little bit more confidence, especially after that win against New Orleans. So it's going to be a tough game for us. But, it's just weird to see. I mean, it's weird to see Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady lose on the same day.
Yeah. We'll move on from those underwhelming teams, and we'll get to a surprising team and a refreshing team.
Yeah.
The 6-1 Giants went on the road in Jacksonville and took the win 23-17. A game that was pretty much back and forth for the whole time, and Jacksonville really had a chance to win at the end of the game. Their last drive, the Giants committed 2-3 defensive penalties, which gave Jacksonville life. They ended up throwing a pass down to the goal line as time expired, and they ended up being about a yard or a yard and a half short of the end zone, losing the game in that fashion. Really tough, but Jacksonville, like we said, a team that kind of tricked us early, but will probably end up being that team that's in every single game, but comes away winning 4 or 5 games on the season. So we have that for Jacksonville. Etienne, however you want to pronounce his last name. He played well. Trevor Lawrence, his numbers looked well, but I don't know, really wasn't impactful. 300 yards, and a lot of that was a little bit of catch-up ball. I think this Giants team has the formula to win. I do think that, at some point Daniel Jones is going to have to remember that he's Daniel Jones and come back to earth,
I was just going to say that.
For now, though, I do have confidence in this team and how they're playing. Dayball seems to be a very good coach. Wink Martindale has the defense playing great. And I don't know, man. This Giants team won this game. Could have lost, but good teams win games.
Yeah, exactly. And they
made a great play on the goal line. A lot of teams would have not made that tackle.
With the Giants, though, I'm lacking the confidence factor in them. Like that's all it is. I mean, I just don't trust. I don't like, especially a team having Daniel Jones lead them. It's like I'm very hesitant on
no receivers,
no weapons besides Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
But like Dayball does a great job of scheming and game planning to work around that, and that's showing up quickly and evidently. But it's like, with this Giants team, it's like the games they're winning are all like one possession games, which is, like you said, good teams win. But at the end of the day, it's just like how I feel about the Vikings too. It's like at the end of the day, if you're not going out winning some games by multiple scores, we're having issues because this is not sustainable in this type of league, and you'll come back down to earth and get smacked in the face at the very wrong time, and your season's blown up.
Right.
And so with this Giants team, like, you're not going to win many more games with Daniel Jones only throwing for 160 to 180 yards.
He broke 200 this game, barely.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, around those type of passing numbers, you're just not going to win many, and you're not going to do damage in the playoffs. Playoffs, you have to be able to click on all cylinders, running, passing, just every facet of the game. And
can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Do you feel that way about Lamar too?
I have hope with Lamar that he can.
Because Jones was 19 for 30, 202 yards and a touchdown, 11 rushes for 107 yards and a touchdown.
See, I don't understand how Jones escapes the way he does. I'm asking myself that question every weekend when I'm watching him. I'm like, how is he putting up rushing numbers like this when he is not? I don't see him as a mobile quarterback, but he's sneaky good, like, in that part of his game. And for me, like,
that just means he's white, folks.
I don't think with Lamar, for me, it's like, I believe in the guy that he's gonna at some point get that accuracy down, especially if he wants to be paid the way he wants to be paid. He's got to go out and start slinging that bitch and be more accurate with the ball. Like, him running the ball, we all know what he can do. Like, that part of his game is case closed. Like, no need to work on it. It's the fact of, I mean, besides ball security issues, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he does get very loose with that outside of his body.
Yeah, he does.
But I just want to see the consistent accuracy from him, because I think that's going to take his game to a whole different level, and the league should be terrified of that.
Do you feel the same way about them?
About Jones and Lamar?
Mm-hmm.
No, Lamar's up here for me. Daniel Jones is like,
I hear you. I feel that way, but the stats are very
right.
similar.
And I know stats don't lie, but that's, I don't know. Lamar just, when you get that last possession of the game,
There's a chance.
Yes. Like with Daniel Jones, I don't feel that way.
I hear you.
And I just know he's bound to make a boneheaded mistake. It's just one of those things. I mean, you watch him run, he's super clumsy. I mean, I've never seen a more decent mobile quarterback be so clumsy. Like, it's crazy. I don't know. But with the Giants, for me, it's just, it's like I said with the Vikings. I don't have that trust there yet. I'm not there. Like, I'm glad we're winning games. Glad our record's 5-1, 6-1. But I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket with these two teams. Like, I just can't right now. Like, you got to show me a little more firepower and just a hair more. I mean, I would pick probably the Giants' defense over ours right now.
Mm-hmm.
But offensively, you could argue, I mean, the Vikings aren't showing the explosiveness we have, like, talent-wise. The Giants, they just don't have no talent besides Saquon. But they're doing such a good job of, like, spreading the ball around. I mean, getting it to the open guy. Like, they're just making plays at crucial moments. And Saquon, he's in a whole different headspace this year where he's locked in and, I mean, he's taking games over.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a guy like that who can do that, I mean, look at the 2012 Vikings. All it was AP, who went 10-6, made the playoffs. Like, that's the type of team I see this Giants team being. Not comparing Saquon to AP, but I mean, it's the same factor.
Right.
So that's the kind of team I would say they are, is that 2012 Minnesota Vikings team.
Was it Ponder?
Yeah.
That's fair enough. You had some decent Sidney Rice, Percy, didn't you? Like, they don't have anybody.
I don't
right
think we
now.
had Sidney Rice that year. He was in Seattle already.
Okay.
But we had Percy.
Who was probably hurt.
And honestly, I don't
Bernard Berry.
because I don't think Cordero came until 2013 or
Okay.
14 or something like that.
So it's bleak. So, yeah, it's a good comparison. You don't believe in the Giants. Do you believe in the Dallas Cowboys? Dak returned. Didn't play that well, but they won 24-6. That was pretty much on the strength of the defense. 5 turnovers, 5 sacks.
They play a better team than the Lions. They lose that game.
You think so?
I like the look of Dallas on offense a lot better with Cooper Rush than I do Dak. Dak's played 2 games. Cooper's played, 4?
4, I think.
So, and you look at the 2 games Dak's played, Tampa Bay, Detroit, they just look brutal on offense. Like, I don't know what it is. He can't get the guy, like, get his team, like, go in the right direction that for those games, or I don't.
One's understandable. First game of the season against the top 5 defense, especially at that time. Second one, Detroit has to be bottom 3 in the league.
Yeah.
Like, this, I mean, I guess you're coming off
But
the
you
injury.
against a defense like Detroit, and you're the Dallas Cowboys. You better put some points up. Your defense is great. A little questionable on the run defense right now. I know they just traded for Jonathan Hankins or whatever from Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Who knows how that's going to work out, whatever. But their pass defense is elite, and their pass rush is elite. But that offense is bound to fuck them over.
Yeah, well, speaking of that run defense, well, first of all, the pass defense. Michael Parsons made a great play on T.J. Hawkinson, chased him down at the 1. The run defense, D-Law made a play up the middle where Jamal Williams fumbled the ball on the next play.
Yeah.
Dallas recovered it, and that was pretty much one of the factors in this game that led to Dallas's victory. Like we said, the offense was trouble. The defense was carrying them.
Yeah.
They played similar to how they played with Cooper Rush in there, but Dak just doesn't seem like he has it right now. He didn't seem like he had it before his injury. I don't know if you want to make that excuse for him this game.
Ever since, watching him back to last year when, their record was what? 12-5?
Last year, I think so, yeah.
So they were a good team last year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you said, Dak has got that kind of like Kirk Cousins aspect to him that everyone likes to talk shit about Kirk Cousins about. Is like he doesn't show up sometimes. And that is Dak. I mean, after that playoff game, there was memes about Dak being the black Kirk Cousins. And when I saw that, I was like, man, that actually kind of makes sense. They do their games resemble each other a lot. I think Dak has more of the rushing ability, obviously, but passing wise, it's like I might trust Cousins a little bit more with some of the throws he can make compared to Dak. Mm-hmm. But overall, they can make some boneheaded ass decisions, and it ends up costing the team. And with Dak, it's just like sometimes he's not. It doesn't seem like his mind is fully there in the right moments at the right time. So for me, Dak, I mean, I loved Dak when he came out of college, and I thought it was a good pick for the Cowboys. But yeah, he's been very underwhelming throughout his career, and I mean, they just don't look. Look, I think I fear Dallas's running backs more than I do their receivers.
At this point, I would agree with you.
I just don't.
Even though Zeke is questionable.
But Pollard is so explosive this year.
Zeke could get you a good 4 or 5 hard yards, but he doesn't have the breakaway ability like he did.
But that's where Pollard comes in, and
they just need to use him more.
Yeah, and he can even go out wide and line up in the slot or whatever. And
McCaffrey
yeah, and I think they should be doing that a lot more because CeeDee Lamb has a drop issue.
Marquise Brown's cousin.
And Gallup hasn't looked like himself. They don't have James Washington. I mean, who was the other guy that they have?
Brown is cool, but
he's been decent. I liked watching him. Mm-hmm. But overall, I mean, I still think that, especially when it comes to that division, there's no one touching Philly. I mean, the rest of the teams are going to be fighting for that second spot.
Yeah, we'll see.
So, I mean, a lot can happen still in this part of the season, but where we're at, it's just Dallas. I mean, besides the Eagles, it's hard to trust really those bigger NFC East teams being Washington or being New York Giants and Dallas. It's just hard right now to. I mean,
Jalen Hurts is one of those Daniel Jones, Lamar Jackson, 200 yards.
And I think that's why when I was going to say earlier, when we get to the playoffs, like when we look at AFC, we kind of know what to expect. NFC playoffs, I feel like, are going to be more fun to watch because we're going to get some games that are just like we don't know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Like that's where the NFC is. The state of the NFC is right now.
Right.
There's so many close teams that you get wild card divisional round games. Like those are going to be the most fun to watch because it's going to be a battle. Whereas you get to the AFC wild card division games, there could be a couple blowouts, and especially when you look at Buffalo and Kansas City, like those are going to be two teams that should be duking it out in the championship game. But
we'll see about that.
Just go out and beat Tampa Bay Thursday.
Yeah, that'll give me a lot of confidence, man. My last thing on this Cowboys team, they've really been successful 2 of the years that Dak's been there. If you want to consider getting to the playoffs successful, that's fine. But they've really been around a 500 team since he's been there. Except for his rookie year, they were 13-3. Where, I mean, it was their offensive line and the run game. Now it's the defense and the run game. And some of the weapons that can be explosive. I mean, it's almost a decade later and the game's changed a little bit. There's a lot of ways to get these guys the ball in space. I think they need to utilize that more. Like we said, Pollard is one of the most explosive players in the league. Got to get him the ball. Noah Brown's a good addition to that offense. Noah Gallup isn't what he used to be coming off that injury, and CeeDee Lamb does have problems with his hands. Dalton Schultz is a good tight end who really hasn't been a factor while Cooper Rush has been the quarterback, but Dak seems to find him a lot. So I think going forward, the offense will look better. Dak isn't the guy I believe in like that, though.
No, Dallas is going to have weeks coming up where they look like, God damn, this team might be unstoppable. But they always have those moments during their seasons. Mm-hmm. That's why we get to the end of the season, the playoffs, and they turn into a team that doesn't know where they are. So, I mean, I don't know. And I still don't trust Mike McCarthy to get them over the hump to any sort of Super Bowl or championship. Never. Like he'll end up calling a piss poor game and costing them.
Yeah.
So
You said they don't know where they are. Moving on to a team that I think found themselves. Bengals were at home and they took on the Atlanta Falcons, doubling up their score, 17-35. Joe Burrow looks like he's back. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, they all had good games. This is kind of what we expected coming into the season, a three-headed monster out there.
Yeah.
And the wide receiver trio, similar to what you guys had back in the day, a little Jake Reed, Randy, Chris Carter action, but I don't know, man. This is a little bit different for me. Joe Burrow looking like he back at LSU out there right now. It's looking scary for these boys.
And, granted they played Atlanta, and I didn't feel good about Atlanta going into Cincinnati and even coming close to beating them. Like, I don't see Atlanta as a good road team. And
their best DB went down.
And for me, when I look at the Bengals coming into this game, it was something's going to click here soon with this team. And when it does click,
watch out.
It's going to be a watch out moment for the other AFC teams because I feel slightly confident putting Kansas or Cincinnati up against Kansas City or Buffalo in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They match up well. And they can be just as explosive on offense as those other two teams. So if they can get this to be consistent, they have a shot at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Again, the defense is coming around. O-line is coming around. They're still not really using Mixon how I'd like, but if Joe Burrow's going to pass for 400, 500 yards a game, the fuck you need him for? Honestly.
Well, and that's I was reading a recap or whatever after the game, and it was like, their run game has kind of been non-existent since that Super Bowl last year, but when you get games like this from Burrow, it doesn't matter. Like, they'll kill you in the pass game. So, but it's nice to have a guy like Mixon back there because he can break one off and close out the game.
That's part of the reason why I think this offense can be better than Buffalo's because they have a way better run game. Joe Burrow did this in 42 attempts. Josh Allen's going to do it in 58.
Yeah.
So it's going to be more efficient, potential to be higher scoring, definitely more potent. But the way it looks in Buffalo is fun too. The way it comes off of Allen's arm is just beautiful.
If you told, I'm looking at Buffalo, Chiefs, and Cincy as my top three teams in the AFC. To be the most fun to watch any of those three teams go up against each other in the AFC Championship. We saw Kansas City lose to Cincy last year, so that's what I mean. And with how leaky Kansas City's defense has been, I would possibly pick Cincinnati to beat them because Cincinnati is capable of beating them and Buffalo in my opinion. I just think everything's got to be clicking on at the right time, but they have the capability of beating those two teams.
Moving on, staying in the AFC North, we had Cleveland on the road, taking an L to Baltimore 20-23.
Mm-hmm.
This was a game that we needed big time. We had a lead, 10-point lead again. We tried to blow this one too. We wasted about 6 minutes off the clock, went down in our own territory, deep in our own territory. Justice Hill fumbles the ball. Cleveland gets it back. Honestly, they had a good chance to win the game.
when you all had that fumble, I was like, they're gonna lose it again. But that defense finally showed up to close it out.
Hey, they called the offensive pass on Amari Cooper, and I said, it was. I might not have called it.
It was
full extension.
It was
full extension.
But when I watched it live real time for the first time, like it was. I saw it, but it was so quick. Like, honestly, I was like, God damn, I just thought it was a perfect ball from Jacoby. Like, it just looked so beautiful to see, but it was like, you could fully tell that he was damn near stiff arming off that bitch. Like, Amari Cooper he does that though. Like, I've seen him do that multiple times.
Yeah.
So he cost him the game.
Hey, that cost him the game. There was another controversial call on their 56-yard field goal that was called false start. Moved it back to 61. We ended up getting our fingertips on that one. That would have tied the game at 23.
Yeah. That was a huge point in the game too.
Huge call.
Like, so, and like you said, sometimes you just have to have the game break your way a little bit like that. Like, not saying I like to win off of calls that benefit us like that. I mean, but sometimes it's so blatant or obvious that like it has to be called and you just benefit from it. So I mean, you can't hate on a team for, winning by, a couple penalties that went their way towards the end of the game. Like, I don't know. I thought, but at the end of the day, I thought you guys should have kind of put Cleveland away.
We had more than one chance to do it. I think on that Justice Hill run, I think it should have been Gus Edwards in there. He did.
Man, he looks good too.
Yeah, he did look good in his return. He had 2 touchdowns. I mean, I understand you don't want to use him too much. See how he feels the next day, this week going forward. No J.K. Dobbins hurts. Kenyon Drake didn't really have a great game. But, it's all about wins and losses, man. I think early in this game, it looked kind of ugly. Cleveland Browns got the ball first, went down, ran it down our fucking throat. Chubb went into the end zone easy, 7-0. And he pretty much had his way with us the whole game. They just stopped going to him, which I'm very fine with. I think Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year before. Yeah. And sometimes I question his decisions and his play calling.
I agree. I think he's still very raw as a head coach. Like, he's still learning his way and getting his footing as a head coach. I mean, he was in the Vikings organization for such a long time. I mean, working his way up. I think he started as like an intern or something, and now he's a head coach. So he put in the work. But what I'm getting to though, especially when you look at this Cleveland-Baltimore game, is like this is what the NFL is this year. It's close.
A lot of ugly games.
It's a lot of ugly, close games, and wins are wins. It doesn't matter how you get to the playoffs as long as you get there, because it's a whole new season once we get there. You just got to pull off victories, and that's where I'm at in this season. Especially when it comes to me being a Vikings fan, and off air from here, like I just got to start enjoying us winning games instead of trying to pick it apart. Because I can come on here and do that all day, but at the end of the day, when you're a fan of a team, you expect. I think you have high expectations for your teams when the rosters are put together pretty well and we have talent. So my expectations coming into the year were pretty high. Granted, I know it's a first year system, first year head coach, whatever, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to be more grateful that we're kind of having this type of NFL season. It's a lot of close records combined. No one's running away with it. I mean, obviously, besides Buffalo and Philly, you got in each conference, but that can be the case all year long. We get to the playoffs and they can get upset. Like that's the beauty about football. Like none of these teams are fully out of it right now, besides a couple. It's just so close together. Like this season's gonna get wild. It's just gonna get wild, and I'm just trying to enjoy the ride, because before we know it, football season's gonna be over. When we're talking about draft, off season pickups, all that shit. So why not just enjoy the season, even if I'm harsh on my team, even at 5-1. Like I just got to enjoy it. Like I got to enjoy it. Like wins are hard to come by in the NFL. So anytime you can win, whether you're playing a bad team or a good team, like you gotta take it, celebrate it, and move on to the next week.
Yes, indeed. We'll move on to our last 2 noon games, both division games. We had the Colts on the road at Tennessee, taking the L to the Titans 10-19. The Titans have now won 4 in a row, and they sweep the Colts again. The big news coming out of this game is Matt Ryan is now benched for quarterback Sam Ehlinger, young boy out of Texas. I don't know. How do you feel they're going to do with that?
They can't do any worse. I mean, I liked what I saw from Ehlinger during the preseason.
This year? Okay. I didn't like what I saw last year.
He looked a lot more improved, but granted, it's preseason. I mean, who fucking knows?
You like Kenny Pickett, too.
Yeah, let's be fair, though. He's a rookie. I mean, he wasn't going to come out here and light the world on fire. I just said you need to put him in instead of Trubisky. We fucking know what Trubisky's about.
Yeah, for sure.
So if this is your first round guy, get him the experience and let him grow with this team, because you guys have a core nucleus on offense put together that's going to ride it out for the next 3 years.
We'll get to them later.
So for me, what were we saying though?
Colts, Sam Elliott.
Colts. They can't do any worse. Might as well. I mean, I would be hesitant on saying like we plan on starting him the rest of the season. I mean, if I'm Matt Ryan, I hear that like, okay, I'll just retire. Like, fuck it. Like, he should retire. He's bad.
Or unless he wants to be a backup for 3-4 years.
But I mean,
this was really.
I don't feel bad though, because this is what the Colts have done. Like, they put themselves in this position. They constantly rotate quarterbacks every year. They think it's all on the quarterback, but your team plays like crap.
I don't mind those quarterback moves. Rivers.
I don't mind them, but when
Wentz.
you're constantly going quarterback hunting every offseason to bring in a fucking veteran for 1 year, you're not setting yourself up good for the long term.
No, but they're always in a position where they're middle of the pack of the draft. You're not going to get good quarterback at that position.
No, but that's also the thing. Like, sometimes you just got to take it on the chin for a year or two and totally rebuild. Set your organization on a fresh start.
Do you think? I'll forget if we get to it later. Do you think Pickett would have started for Pittsburgh if they still had T.J. Watt out there? If Trubisky still looked the way he looked,
depends on if they're winning games.
4-3.
If they're winning games, probably not.
So it's okay.
But Tomlin's he's not used to losing like this. Like, he's trying to get his team to bounce back somehow. And I mean, I don't think Kenny Pickett looks awful. Yeah, he's made a lot of mistakes, but he's not awful. Like, he's got a lot of potential to grow and be a good quarterback for them. But what can you do when, I mean, I just think Pittsburgh overall is just a bad team. Especially with Watt out. He's like the heart and soul of that team, man. He gets them fired up, ready to play, and without him, like, they lose their voice on defense.
Yeah. Some ugly football out there. But back to this game, definitely some ugly football here for Tennessee. This is how they're going to be winning every game. Derrick Henry is the key to their success. What did he have in this game? 23 rushes or so. 30 for 128.
Yeah.
So definitely a big game for Henry. I think if you're getting 30 carries a game, you're healthy. So we can expect to start seeing some of these big games from Henry. He's really starting to get his legs back, and I think he's really progressed every week. He's came back into this lineup. Tannehill left the game in a walking boot. Not sure how serious that is. I know Malik did get in a little bit of playing time on a sweep that was fumbled. That's all I've seen of him. But hopefully that's not the plan for him going forward, especially if Tannehill can't play next week.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee, they're such a boring team.
0-2, I was ready for this team to be done with. And now they're 4-2. They'll probably be in that second tier teams with the Giants and shit like that.
They don't have a shot to do anything in the playoffs.
They're going to win their division going away. So we'll see them for the rest of the year.
It's just they're kind of in a predicament right now in the state of where their franchise is. It's complete mediocrity, and it's not getting any better anytime soon. You're gonna stand pat for a while until something goes wrong, and you have to start kind of a little bit of a rebuild. Like, Tannehill is not the answer for that team, and eventually you can't. I'm not saying you can't, but it's going to be difficult to take the next step if you're going to constantly rely on Derrick Henry, because he's not going to be around forever. So, I don't know. He might need a fresh start somewhere else at some point in his career, as well as the Titans as a whole. Like, you lose A.J. Brown, it's a totally different team. They don't got no passing game, really. It's bad. And Henry, he's going to do what he does, but a lot of these teams, especially playoff teams, are going to shut him down. And he's capable, and they've shown they're capable of shutting him down. I mean, I don't know. The Titans are, like I said, a boring team to me. It's just not much to talk about with them.
Moving on to our afternoon games. We got the New York Jets on the road at the Denver Broncos. Going into this game, we knew Russell Wilson was not going to play.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out of this game, some more injuries. Breece Hall tearing up his knee, is going to miss the rest of the season. and also an offensive lineman, Elijah Barrett-Tucker, for the Jets, will miss the rest of the season as well. A team that we had a lot of promise for. We probably both had them around 9 wins in the preseason. I don't know. I still think they can get there, but it's going to be very difficult with Zach Wilson playing this way. I think with no Breece Hall, you're really going to have to utilize Garrett Wilson, and he really doesn't seem to have a connection with him yet.
But I do like the fact they went out and got James Robinson.
They got James Robinson from Jacksonville, and they still have Michael Carter-Williams. So
I think, it's tough to replace a Breece Hall, but James Robinson, he's a very good, capable back. And
you know who has more rush yards than James Robinson right now? Daniel Jones.
That's crazy. But at the same time, Robinson wasn't getting much run in Jacksonville because ETN is doing a great job.
Right. So
it was a good move on both parts, I think. I think it's a 6th rounder that can turn into a 5th rounder. It was a good win for the Jets against the Broncos. The Broncos team is just plain bad coaching. And the Jets still have a chance to sneak into the playoffs, I think, like at this point. I think they're good enough to get a wild card.
For sure.
They just gotta keep growing each week as a team and putting it all together.
I think the Jets still have enough talent on both sides of the ball to put it together. It's gonna be tough though without that guy in the backfield.
Oh, it is. Especially with what he was showing, man.
Yeah, and then you already lost Mekhi Becton. That offensive line is taking some big hits this year. So trying to rely on a young quarterback who really doesn't look that good.
It's tough.
I don't know. I definitely have my reservations about the Jets.
But they're a team that defense can carry them a little bit. Like
they can. Shit, second best DB room in the league, maybe.
That Sauce Gardner pick was phenomenal.
Couldn't have been better. It really couldn't have been better.
That was he's a tone setter for that defense.
Between him and Surtain, this was a really good game between young DBs. I think they're probably both top 5 in my opinion right now.
Yeah.
I really like Surtain a lot. I'm a Roll Tide guy, so I always got my eye on him.
Surtain's really good.
Yeah, for sure. Our last game of the afternoon. Houston Texans on the road at Las Vegas. Both teams, 1 win. Both teams coming off a bye. This game was early, 10-10 going into the half, but second half it was really the Josh Jacobs show. Ended up with 3 touchdowns, 143 yards on the day. And that's pretty much the difference in the game. Houston, a team that's going to be able to stick in a lot of these games, but they're going to make a mistake, and ultimately they're just not talented enough. But I do like what this team is doing and what they have going forward. But probably what a lot of your games are going to look like. Maybe not an 18-point loss, but no wins in your future.
The Texans are. I like where they're going. I don't think Lovie Smith's the guy to lead them to where they want to get to.
Yeah, bad situation, man.
But it is what it is right now. They fight hard each game. They're just not a team right now that you can do anything with. They're gonna be who they are, and the Raiders. I think
they needed this win.
They needed this win. But I think you got to start relying a little bit more on Josh Jacobs. I think that he's going to open your offense up a little more, and he showed Sunday that he's capable of taking over for them and making them prolific ground attack. So I think get him a little bit more touches involved, get him in a rhythm, and I think that's going to benefit Carr and Devontae especially, but. You still got Renfro. You still got Waller. It's a loaded offense. They just got to put it together. And get it on the same page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is good for Josh Jacobs. His contract negotiations. I don't think he signed that yet, has he?
I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything either. So I'm just gonna assume that that's still up in the air. However, I don't expect a game like this again from him. Maybe once this year. He's really an 85 per game kind of guy, maybe a touchdown, definitely a goal line kind of guy, not a breakaway speed guy. Definitely a solid back, similar to a Zeke, but
not elite,
with
but
a little
solid.
bit more ability than that at this point in Zeke's career. So this was our last afternoon game of the week. We had the Seattle Seahawks on the road at the Los Angeles Chargers. taking a dub 37-23. Going into the week, I thought this might have been one of the more high-scoring games, but this Chargers offense is really disappointing me. This Chargers team is really disappointing me this year.
Yeah.
No reason you should lose this game. No reason you should lose it by 2 scores. Seattle is at the top of the NFC West now with this W.
Yep.
I mean, Chargers, I don't know, man. A lot of problems going into this game, and a real big problem coming out of it. You lose J.C. Jackson for the year, tearing up his knee.
Yep.
Herbert, not looking like the guy that we thought he would. A lot of attempts, but they're not going for any yards in the air. I understand that you don't have Keenan Allen, and I understand that you lost Mike Williams in this game as well. So things are just getting worse in L.A. right now.
It might be time to call it a season for them. I mean, they don't look like they're going anywhere. They don't look like they're getting better. It's a poorly coached team.
That I agree with.
It's just it's all bad. It's just one of those unfortunate seasons for a team that had a lot of expectations, in my opinion. There's not much to say. You're just disappointed in that type of a team with all that talent on the roster. You can't say anything but shake your head and be disappointed. It's just like they were supposed to be one of those firepower teams this year.
They were, and especially in a game like this, Geno does go 20 of 27, only has 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, yeah, but he does have an interception and a fumble. You should definitely be able to produce more points and hold this team to under 37. I mean, they almost scored 40 points with 2 turnovers. That's just unacceptable. But, I mean, like we said last week, a star is born. Kenneth Walker, 23 carries, 164 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm loving what I see out of this Seattle offense right now.
They're a team I'm slowly but surely starting to gain more confidence in and trust a lot more. I mean, who were we this offseason to say they were going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL? Like, they're right in the thick of things, like right now with the playoff race. Like, they can go out and accomplish anything they want at this point. They look like a well-coached team. Credit to Pete Carroll. But at the end of the day, they come out and they play hard and they go to war for each other each and every game. And that's what I take away from the Seahawks this year is they look like not going to say a complete team, but like they look like they got that natural swag to them. Like they can go out and beat anyone and they're not scared of anyone.
Definitely not.
So you got to fear a team like that has that type of mentality.
I was laughing while you were talking because I realized that was also not the last afternoon game. The Chiefs were on the road at the 49ers. And this, I promise, was our last afternoon game. Taking a W 44-23. Started early. San Francisco took a lead. I think it was double digits. And at one point, it was 14-13, I want to say the score was, but don't quote me on that. Jimmy Garoppolo throws a pick in the end zone, and it pretty much was downhill from there for San Francisco. Patrick Mahomes ended up with 423 yards, 3 touchdowns. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Panchero, I forget his name, but he's a good little running back, number 10.
Yeah.
They seem to be a nice duo right now in this backfield, and they're starting to utilize the run game more out there in Kansas City. Obviously, you have Kelsey, best tight end in the league, but MVS is also playing well, as well as Juju Smith-Schuster. So I think that this team can keep rolling like this. It's going to be a very, very interesting battle coming towards the end of the year in the AFC.
No, for sure. Like Kansas City, I mean, they're just a team you don't want to mess with. I mean, you don't know what to expect with them. Anything's going to pop off with them. Like Mahomes just goes out there and makes shit happen. But at the end of the day, what I really took away from this game was like, come playoff time or end of the season, towards the end of the regular season, when shit's really getting interesting, San Fran's a team I don't want to see.
Obviously, they traded for McCaffrey. I mean, I could have mentioned that too, but this team is going to be so dangerous. The defense wasn't healthy against the Chiefs, so we expect them to be more healthy towards playoff time.
Yeah.
That run game is going to be so crucial with those 2 guys back there. Even if you want to put Debo back there too. Ayuk is a good third option. Kittle, top 3 tight ends. So, I mean, Jimmy in this game had over 300 yards, but crucial interception.
Yeah, it's the crucial mistakes,
yeah,
man.
I think he had a safety as well. So, I mean, just not reliable all the time, but he definitely has the ability to lead this team to a Super Bowl again.
What I love about them, and like, I'm not a fan of theirs by any means, but it's what I love about the whole team out there is they're like so blue collared and just go out and punch you in the mouth. Like, for real. Like not saying I don't think they had. I mean, they had their chances in this game against Kansas City, but at the end of the day, I felt way more comfortable the whole game knowing Kansas City is going to put them away eventually.
Right.
It's just like when you watch, especially as McCaffrey gets. Not saying it was the greatest trade in the world because they could have still got it done without him, but I think as he gets more comfortable in this offense, it's going to make it even like more explosive. And I mean, Jimmy G won't have to do a whole lot. Just get it to Debo or CMC and even Jeff Wilson and just let them go to work. Like it's going to be one of those teams where they really just come out and I mean, like they went up to Lambeau in January and just punched him in the mouth. Like they are that type of team. Mm-hmm. Like no fear, no excuses, no bullshit. Just go out there and do our jobs.
One of the hardest teams to beat in the playoffs. Good defense and a run game that they stay committed to. I mean, we know what it is, man. It just comes down to Jimmy.
Yeah.
Don't make those dumb turnovers. Don't make those stupid mistakes.
That's if they had a legit quarterback, like that team is.
They'd have one already.
Like, oh, man. And Shanahan, I mean, he's a good coach. Like,
I mean, you look at it, who won the Super Bowl last year? The San Francisco 49ers own the Rams in the regular season. So, I mean, they're right there as far as who do we need to beat to get to the
It's just a couple plays that haven't gone their way.
Every time.
Like, that's all it is. I mean, this team, like I said, this is what I took away mainly is I just don't want to see the 49ers. They're one of those teams where they're just like a thorn in your side.
I think I predicted you at 2, 49ers at 7, and you take but that's a long ways away. We'll see what happens. Sunday Night Football, we had Pittsburgh Steelers on the road in Miami, taking the L 10-16. Tua returns, and he faced your boy Kenny Pickett. Not a very exciting game. 16-10, all those points are in the first half. A lot of dink and dunk. Couple turnovers and a lot of turnover-worthy plays, especially.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Pittsburgh dropped 4 interceptions this game, so they definitely were right here. Miami, if this is what we expect from them, I don't know, man. A lot of people feel like this is a high-scoring team, and it's really the one game against Baltimore. I think this is kind of more what this team is going to be. A lot of short passes to Waddle, a lot of short passes to Tyreek, and the run game is going to be utilized a lot. But Tua's not one of those guys that I look at as a very big threat going forward.
No, I think that injury was pretty huge to him.
For sure.
And it's going to kind of affect him mentally, I think. But it's a tough AFC battle. Pittsburgh's not that good. Miami, I'm not going to call them good. I'm not going to call them bad. They're just one of those average teams who can go out there and beat anyone on any given Sunday.
The defense has really bounced back after a few bad games.
Yeah, they started off bad. I mean, the past couple of games, they pretty much been lights out. I mean, I think Tua is the biggest difference maker for them. I mean, you can't. I don't think that you're gonna do much more with Teddy or Skyler.
No.
So Tua is your best bet. Not saying he's not. To me, he's not a game changer or game breaker for them. Not going to light up the passing numbers by any means, but he can hit. He has the tools to put up those type of numbers, but it's not consistent. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of dinks and dunks because they just want to get the ball in those two speedsters' hands and let them do what they do. Mm-hmm. That's the key to everything, I think. But I don't think Miami's a bad team. They're one of those tough AFC teams that just happens to be kind of more on the average side.
Yeah, especially this game. No sacks for Tua. They were definitely getting the ball out quick. On the other side, there's a big difference between the preseason and the regular season. I think Kenny Pickett's finding that out. He had 3 picks in this game. Not all of them are his fault, and he does make plays here or there. I think I was messing with you earlier, but I do think he will fare out okay in the league. He has some things to learn, but definitely make some rookie mistakes out there that are very evident.
Yeah, the rookie mistakes are painful to go through, but I think they're necessary for a guy to take the next step and become a much better version of himself.
You can definitely see the talent there, though.
The talent's there. And I think he's probably put in the best position, I think, with a coach like Mike Tomlin. Not that he's more. I mean, he's a defensive guy, but just I think the demeanor that Mike Tomlin has and the way he's able to coach his guys, like you're in a comfortable situation where you don't feel like you have someone barking at you all the time. Even though Tomlin is a tough head coach, he's got such a good rapport with his locker room, and the guys love playing for him.
Right.
So it's and the fact that he did go out of his way to name Pickett the starter over Trubisky eventually, like that bodes well in your favor at this point. But you just got to go out and prove it now. So, and we'll take those lumps and the mistakes you make right now. But the talent's there. I think that eventually he'll be able to lead this team to playoffs and some success. So you just gotta take it on the chin this year, I think.
Fair enough. To cap off Monday, we had the Chicago Bears facing the New England Patriots, and probably the surprise of the week. 33-14, they took the victory. Man, Justin Fields looked okay. Mac Jones did not. He was 3 for 6, and Bill Belichick did not play any games. He pulled them. The run game was not that evident. Bailey Zappi, on paper, he looked okay, but a lot of people would say that those numbers were very ineffective, and if you look at the scoreboard, you would see why.
Yep.
Chicago Bears, man, the defense did it for him, and I think, man, this was a huge surprise for me. I thought Bill Belichick was going to go in here, take away this run game, force Justin Fields to beat you, and Justin Fields and the defense beat you.
Bro, I mean, Fields was getting pressured all night. He was just getting out of it and making these huge runs after huge run, like just getting out of these crazy like pressure situations he was in. That's credit to him, but he's man, I don't know. Is Fields gonna end up being a quarterback who's more on the running side of things and little pass numbers? I don't know.
Everybody is right now.
Right now, yeah, it seems that way. But I guess for me, if it's working, you got to keep going with it because they looked pretty good last night, the way they were playing. So now on the other side of things, the whole Max Jones, Bailey Zappi situation, I don't know what to make of it. Like that's I don't know. I never know what to think about Bill Belichick and the way his mind works. So with that, I would expect Bailey Zappi to keep taking the reins. I don't know if Bill Belichick was obviously a Mac Jones guy, a big Mac Jones guy, he's not going to pull him. Maybe was it a message that he was sending to him? I don't know, but
it's a tough message
to start him after he gets back from injury and then pull him so fast was like almost a head scratcher for me because
that pick was terrible.
Yeah,
I will say that
it was.
Zappi wasn't turning the ball over. You know how Bill is too, man. He don't care at all.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing is that he just wants to win. He don't care, and and if you lose, he ain't gonna say shit to the media. So you're never gonna be able to read his mind. I don't know. It was just I just am surprised the Bears won like that. If you would have told me the Bears were gonna win, I would have been like, oh, probably 17-14 or 13-10 or some shit like that.
That might be the most surprising part.
The 33 points.
The 33 points.
Yeah. Like,
wow.
I would have never expected that, especially against the Belichick defense.
That's great. That held Detroit to 0.
Yeah. So I don't. But that's where the NFL is at this year. We get these weird ass games.
You get Tampa losing to Pittsburgh and Carolina.
It just picking these games is brutal each week. I don't know which. It could go any which way.
I started okay first few weeks, but after that, I feel like it's been all downhill.
Man, it's tough. So I don't know. It was a game that, I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't boring. They scored points. But it was still ugly football.
That's for sure. And it's crazy to think that 33 points is still ugly football, but that's just what you get this year.
Yeah. It's really a lot of ugly winning out there. I guess you could say ugly losing too.
For sure. Ain't no pretty losing out here. I guess Buffalo last year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's it though for our Week 7 recap. We'll come right back with our Week 8 preview. Week 8, we have 2 teams on a bye, Kansas City Chiefs and the Las Vegas Chargers. Jumping into Thursday Night Football, we have the Baltimore Ravens on the road at Tampa Bay, coming off 2 losses in a row, 2 very embarrassing losses, and I think this is the worst possible time in the world to catch the best quarterback to ever pick up a football. However, I think we found a little bit of our stride. We had a 10-point lead that we almost blew. We ended up winning the game. I think we got our confidence back. I want to go with Baltimore this game just slightly.
So here's what it comes down to for me. As much as I want to take the Bucs, I think it's a bad move because I think that there's a lot more wrong with that team than what we're actually seeing. Like, I think Baltimore, as they have their down moments as well, I trust them more than I do this Tampa Bay team. So I'm going with Baltimore. But I'm gonna say I'm not counting out Tom. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins this game somehow. But if I have to base it off of what we've been seeing, I gotta go Baltimore.
If Tom was smart, well, Tom is smart, he's gonna throw out Marcus Peters this game. Marcus Peters gambles a lot. He's a very feast or famine cornerback. He got beat last game against Amari Cooper. Unfortunately, they called offensive pass interference for Baltimore. But he is a guy who every third down, motherfuckers holding downfield. He gives the teams a new set of downs. If Tom Brady was smart, drove 5 deep balls to Mike Evans down there, you get 3 of them going for first down. He might catch 1. So
yeah, the other thing, I mean, I'm more, and when you look at Tom Brady in prime time, it's like he comes to play.
And you know, Baltimore going on the road. All I can say for that is Lamar's going home, and hopefully he has a big game in Florida.
Yeah, it's I think it'll be probably one of the more fun Thursday night games we see this year. But there's always that slight possibility of these teams coming out and giving us a shit show.
No doubt. We've only had one good Thursday night.
Yeah, so I'm a little skeptical about the quality of football. But at the end of the day, I gotta go with Baltimore right now. Tom's just been burning me too much.
Like we said last week, Tom's not going out like that. I just can't imagine him putting up 3 points again or 10 points.
Yeah.
So it definitely worries me as a Baltimore fan. We have a London game. Those poor chaps get Denver.
I think it's Germany, actually.
Germany?
Yeah.
Wow. We have a game that is not in America. Denver at Jacksonville. Both teams 2-5. I think Denver's in a lot of these games, but that's because they're bad. Jacksonville's in a lot of these games because they play hard and they're coached well. So I'm going to go ahead and take Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think I got to go Jacksonville. This game is like a toss-up for me.
Denver's defense is so good. Again, it's just such a shame that they don't have a quarterback.
And the coaching's bad.
Their defense has been phenomenal for, 5 years now? With no quarterback. Paxton
Denver
Lynch,
is just...
Trevor Siemian has just been terrible.
I have no confidence picking them ever. And
Osweiler.
I like Jacksonville a lot more this year than I thought I would. And they're playing decent football. Mm-hmm. But it's just it's a credit to Jacksonville. I mean, it says a lot more about Denver. Everyone had big expectations for them this year, and it just looks like one of the worst teams in the league right now. And I don't think there's any way of digging out of that hole you put yourself in.
It's going to be tough, man. I mean, the AFC West is not living up to expectations.
I mean, think
Chiefs
about it.
are definitely too far for you to catch, but everybody else in that division.
Think about it, though. The rumor is Denver's got Bradley Chubb on the trading block, Jerry Jeudy. Like,
really?
Yeah, they got players on the trading blocks, bro.
Wow.
KJ Hamler. Like,
wow.
So they're giving up on the season.
We'll take all 3 of those guys in Baltimore, especially Jeudy.
Shoot, I'll take Jeudy too.
Shit, you're good. You just got Jalen Reagor. You're good. You're good, dog.
Oh man.
Moving on to the New games, we have Pittsburgh at 2-5 on the road at Philly, who is undefeated with 6 wins. In this battle of Pennsylvania, Kenny Pickett is going to keep earning his lumps, playing against a team that gets after the quarterback as well as anybody. Philly's going to win this one going away. Coming off a bye week, it's just
this is an easy one. It's Philly.
Tough week to catch these Eagles, man.
Yeah,
they're gonna get healthy. They got a game plan for you. I mean, this could be a trap.
They got like the easiest schedule in the league right now. But it's at the end of the day, like that only means so much because there's still NFL teams. I mean, yeah, some of them are bad, but any of those teams can still come out and play a good day of football and catch you at your worst.
And if Pittsburgh gets 2 of those interceptions off too, we feel a lot different about this game.
Mike Tomlin's got that kind of Belichick effect as well. Like he can game plan for anyone and make it a game, even if it is ugly football. Whether it looks like they're losing by more than what they actually are. Like
they were the ugliest 11-0 team in history a few years ago.
Yeah, they were.
So that's a perfect example of it.
So I mean, I wouldn't necessarily just count out Pittsburgh in this game, but it's still, I'm going off of what I've seen from Philly and just how they've been handling these teams. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see a little bit more consistency on offense and a little bit more explosion from them, but I think that's probably eventually going to come, and I think that Jalen's got to be more prolific in the pass game to get them over that hump in the playoffs if they want to make a deep run.
That's for sure. Our next game, we have Chicago at 3-4 at Dallas 5-2. And you said last game Justin was running for his life. I believe this game he'll be running for his life and then some. Michael Parsons is a man possessed right now. I heard his name in some MVP talks, and I think if Dallas can, I don't know, man. They're not going to win this division, in my opinion. So it's hard for him to win the MVP, especially with Josh Allen doing what he's doing, Patrick Mahomes doing what he's doing. DPOY is for sure in his hands right now.
Yeah.
MVP, I'm going to hold off on that conversation until we get a little bit later in the season. But Justin Fields is going to have his hands full this game. And this Bears offense is definitely going to be in some trouble facing this Dallas defense.
Yeah, I'd love to see a Chicago upset, but...
Where does your hate for Dallas come from?
I just don't like Dallas. I don't like the fans. I just think it's like hating the Yankees. Like, I'm a Red Sox fan.
But Dallas doesn't win, but you're a Red Sox fan. That's different, though.
Right. That's different. But I don't know. Probably because they got so much success off that Herschel Walker trade.
Yankees got swept, by the way.
Yeah, I know. But I think it has to do with that. Like, just they fleeced us.
Damn, they fleeced you, and you were like, shit, forever.
Like forever, bro.
Well, Cardi B
Credit to them though; they got a couple Super Bowls off it. But at the end of the day, I'm going to Dallas. Like the Chicago, great win against New England, but let's be real, New England's not that great of a team this year. They're average at best.
I thought they were a little above average. That game last night might change my mind, but I try not to be a prisoner of the moment. This defense is really good in New England. The running game is really good.
Compared
to the quarterback,
compared to what you're going up against the AFC, they're average.
Yeah. If you assume Buffalo, which is top tier, and then KC's a tier below them, or are they the same tier?
They're probably on equal playing field.
Because honestly, I don't know. Buffalo probably could have beat them by a couple scores that game.
You're talking about Kansas City?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. But, we've seen how they've played each other multiple times. Like, it's high scoring. Like, yeah, I don't know. But to me, I just think New England's an average team. I mean, they're not what they once were.
I guess I hear you. They're below Cincy. They can be in that 4 to.
I just think
the
Patriots are screwed right now because of this QB shit that's going on.
Yeah, you said there was drama going on.
Well, Jacoby Myers said after the game about how he really felt for Mac because of the way they pulled him or whatever. And when you got a player speaking out like that after the game, like, are you really gonna question Bill Belichick?
That's tough. That's real tough.
So I just, I don't know. But yeah, I got Dallas.
Our next game, a battle between a couple 2-win teams. Las Vegas at 2-4, on the road at New Orleans at 2-5. I think the loser of this team is going to be out of playoff contention, so I'll have my eyes locked in on this one as a must-win game for both of these teams. Vegas coming off a big win. New Orleans coming off a loss to the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know, man. I feel like New Orleans is the better team, but the better team is not winning these games sometimes. At home though, I am going to go with the Saints one last time.
Yeah, I got the Raiders here. I just think that this game might have helped them find a little bit of a groove. I don't know how healthy the Saints will be this week. But, I mean, as much as I think the Saints are a decent team, like, they shoot themselves in the foot too much.
They sure fucking do, yeah.
And so that leads me to, like, not trust them a whole lot. But they can easily pull off this win. I wouldn't be surprised. I just tend to like the Raiders a little bit more this game.
That's fair. New Orleans is very banged up on both sides of the ball, so that's pretty much been the case all year, and they've been in a lot of these games, and that might be the reason why they haven't been able to pull some of them out on top of untimely turnovers. But I don't know. Crucial mistakes will kill you all the time.
And this will definitely be a fun game to watch because both these teams know the implications of this game. Like, they both know that this is a must-win. I mean, you'd like to think of every game, every week as a must-win, but when you're both, 2-4, you said?
2-4, and then New Orleans is 2-5.
Okay, so about the same record. Yeah, you're looking at bleak playoff hopes if you lose. That would be I think the Raiders just come out and play with a little bit more fire.
Fair enough. They probably have a lot more urgency given that their division is pretty tough.
Yeah.
Chargers and Chiefs are way up there in the standings. Yeah. So given that Tampa Bay is on this downslide, and I don't really have faith in Atlanta or Carolina pulling out, New Orleans could probably have a little more leeway. So that's a fair pick. Next game, we have Miami at 4-3 at Detroit 1-5. And this is it, man. This is your last chance to prove to me that you're a worthy team. This is going to be my last chance to look at you guys as a worthy team. I think you can do some things against this Miami defense. I think your defense is okay and good enough to keep this Miami offense under wraps. However, I'm going to go with the Dolphins.
I got the Dolphins as well, bro. I just think it's kind of a... I was kind of having, a little bit higher hopes for the Detroit this year. But at the end of the day, when I made my record prediction for them, I still said they're still the Lions. And it's just like when people say you're still the Vikings. Like that shit hits home because you're still that team. And they're still the Lions. Like, I know what they're all about. Like, and I hope Dan Campbell's not this coach that's just all talk and no bite. Like, that would suck because I like the guy, but it's coming to a point where, bro, yeah, you got some injuries, but you were talking in Hard Knocks like this team was gonna sneak into the playoffs.
Schedule's light after this. You got to win this one.
Maybe, but when you go down 1-5 though, have your bye. I mean, the way they came out and played against Dallas though was just like
it's putrid.
It was like it was back to Detroit Lion football. It was just bad all around.
When you look at the ending score, it looks a lot worse than it was. I mean, they definitely had a chance to win this game.
So we can come back here next week and talk about if Dallas or Detroit pulls this off. Like, I'll give them their credit, but I'll take against that fucking Detroit defense. You got Jalen Waddle, Tyreek. Like,
I think this is going to be a high scoring game.
Like, I got to ride with the Dolphins to pull this off.
The boys are back in town. Arizona, 3-4. At Minnesota, 5-1. Take it away.
Well, we had our bye. I mean, I don't know what to expect from them coming off this bye. I hope they got back to the drawing board and can turn some things around especially on defense.
A little Pat P revenge game.
But get just get this offense more explosive plays. Like, let's get some better play calling. Be more consistent all the way around. Play a complete game from first snap to last snap. I like the Vikings in this game. I'm just a little worried about D-Hop tearing us up.
Well, Call of Duty does drop Friday. We can assume Kyler Murray is going to be up for 72 straight hours. He's got the early release, so I think you guys are going to be good this game. I have the Vikings as well. Arizona, I think this is going to be one of the final nails in the coffin.
It would have to be, I would think.
Yeah, losing this game is really going to put you behind in that division. I don't think Seattle's going to be slowing down, and I don't think San Francisco's going to be giving up too much ground to you. Obviously, the Rams won the Super Bowl last year, so they're a team you can't count out as well. So definitely a must-win game for Arizona, in my opinion.
For sure.
We'll move on to the divisional games at noon. We have Carolina at 2-5 on the road at Atlanta 3-4. Carolina, hard-fought battle last week. P.J. Walker looked decent. Kind of, he kind of played well last year. I kind of came into the season feeling like Geno, kind of how I felt about him. I didn't think he would get the chance to play behind Darnold or Mayfield, but now that he has a chance to play, I do kind of like what I'm seeing. But as far as a guy who's going to be able to lead them to a lot of victories, I don't think he's that guy. Atlanta, embarrassing loss last week against Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to have to go with them in a bounce-back victory.
I agree. I got Atlanta in this one. I think, when I think about it, I just think Carolina pulled a rabbit out of their hat against Tampa Bay, got lucky and caught them on a good week. And that was a glimpse of false hope, if you will. Atlanta's going to bounce back in this one, I think, and play a more complete game. And I don't know how long is Cordero out. I don't know.
I think it was 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay, so he's on IR.
2 to 4 weeks at this point, I think.
Okay. Well, they'll be glad to have him back whenever that happens.
Yes, indeed.
But go after Kyle Pitts this game. Get him a big breakout.
Why not?
It's Atlanta or it's Carolina. I mean, division game.
New England 3-4 on the road at the Jets 5-2. Questions about both of these teams right now. A lot of injuries on one side and the quarterback controversy on the other. I don't know, my gut's telling me to never go with the quarterback controversy, but I don't like betting against Bill Belichick, and I don't like taking quarterbacks that throw for 110 yards and Zach Wilson. So I'm going to go Patriots in the bounce back on the road.
I have the Patriots for the lone fact that he lost Breece Hall. He just traded for James Robinson. There's going to be a little bit of a adjustment period with that offense now that their main star is pretty much out for the year.
Right.
And when Bill Belichick catches you in a time like that, he's going to smother your offense.
Yep.
And I feel that coming this week. And these two teams hate each other. So Bill Belichick's going to want to just beat the shit out of them. And not going to say it's going to be a blowout, but it's just going to be, I think it's going to be one of those games that New England controls from the jump and just never lets go.
I think it's going to be a very hard-fought game.
It will. I mean, look at you got the QB controversy in New England, which isn't pretty. But then you got the Jets defense, who's playing really, really well. Sauce Gardner, I mean, I like his matchup against any of those receivers in New England.
Yeah.
So I would like to go with the Jets, but this game just screams like Bill Belichick written all over it. Like his fingerprint is on that game.
Even after last week, a very disappointing output on defense, I wouldn't expect that 2 weeks in a row. And even with Breece Hall, I think Bill Belichick would try and take that away. I mean, we know what he does. And he's going to leave it up to Zach Wilson to beat him. And there's just... I don't want to say this because I said the same thing about Daniel Jones beating us, but there's no way that Zach Wilson's beating Bill Belichick. I just don't see it happening.
I don't. That's kind of how I feel, but
something's in the air in New York.
I just don't. I wouldn't be surprised if they do pull it off because this Jets team is on the up and up. They have a good coach in place. The only thing that, like I said, the reason I'm picking this New England to win is
No,
That Breece Hall injury hurts.
it's huge.
And it's, I mean, he's an integral part of your offense.
For sure.
And he just went down for the year. So who knows how much James Robinson will play. I don't expect Michael Carter to be a game changer. So Zach Wilson's got to be on point in the pass game.
For sure. Afternoon slate, division games. Tennessee at 4-2 on the road at Houston, 1-4-1. Going to be an ugly game that Houston is going to stay into the very end. Tennessee's going to win this one, low 20s to high teens.
Yep, I can't say anything else besides I got Tennessee.
22-19 is my prediction. San Francisco 3-4 on the road at the Rams, 3-3. We mentioned it earlier. San Francisco owns these boys in the regular season. McCaffrey's going to be a little more acclimated into the offense. I'm going to go with San Francisco this game.
I got San Fran as well. This Rams team is just
too one-dimensional. Coming off a bye, I don't feel like you figured anything out.
No,
Cam Akers isn't playing. He's on the trade block, but nobody wants him.
There's a lot of issues amongst that team, and I like San Fran more. They're, like I said, they're a team I worry about playing. And McCaffrey's gonna have a big role this week. And the fact that the trade came down to San Francisco and the Rams, like I got a feeling he's gonna go out there and ball.
Rams just had no compensation, or else he'd be a Ram, and that would.
They don't have a first round pick until 2024.
He didn't go for a first, which was surprising though.
No, I know, but I'm just saying. You think about it, the Rams won't have a first round pick from 2018 to 2024.
Yeah, Lakers are trying to do the same thing. Please don't. We have Washington at 3-4, at Indy 3-1. Lord have mercy. I looked at this one, and then I looked some more.
This is actually fairly easy for me.
Washington. I'm going to go Washington with this one, though.
It has to be Washington. Heineke's back there. They got a little confidence beating Green Bay.
Yeah.
More rhythm with Heineke in there, more chemistry.
But are we going to give Jonathan Taylor the ball 25, 30 times?
I don't know. And what's the expectation for Sam Ellinger? I mean, like, he could come out and ball, but I doubt
he
that.
He can run a little bit.
Indy season's just in the toilet. As well as I think Washington's is too. But I think Washington will have a little bit more pride to play for.
Yeah, we put Washington in the toilet a week or two ago, but a couple of teams that we put in the toilet are starting to, I don't know, we might have clogged that joint. They're coming back to the top, you know what I'm saying? New York Giants at 6-1 on the road at Seattle, 4-3. For me, this is my game of the day, man. And you already know how I'm rocking, man.
we get on the same pick, bro.
Gino and K9, those are my guys.
This is a game I see. Like I haven't been picking Seattle, but this is the week I changed that because New York is barely winning these games, and I think Seattle just is capable of completely outplaying them on both sides of the ball. I think New York may have a slightly better defense, but I definitely trust Seattle and Gino on offense more than I do Daniel Jones and Saquon. I mean, Saquon, he'll probably be the focal point, like always. You just got to shut down the receivers and keep Daniel Jones in check from taking off with the ball. Mm-hmm. It can't be that hard to do. I mean, it's Daniel Jones. But I like Seattle in this game.
Yeah, the Seattle defense struggled a lot early, but they seem to be playing better as of late. This Giants defense is good, but the Seattle offense can really put up some points.
I mean, look at the talent that, and not saying the Chargers are better than the Giants or anything like that. I'm just saying, look at the talent that the Chargers have, and Seattle went out and outclassed them. Like, so it's, and I just think you can't tell me the Giants can go 7-1, bro. Like, what?
They got our fucking record. I don't believe it.
It's just hard when I think of the Giants. I'm like, what? They only lost one game? It's crazy.
I do think DK Metcalf will be out this game, so that's a big factor. But Marquise Goodwin, he did moss J.C. Jackson when J.C. Jackson went down with that injury. He did have 2 touchdowns in that last game, so he's going to be utilized a lot more. Geno Smith is just finding a way to do it. Kenneth Walker is a really good back, replacing Rashad Penny, who's out for the year with an injury. I think the Seattle offense is just enough to squeak by this Giants defense this week.
That's how I'm leaning to.
Sunday night football, Monday night football. First, we have Green Bay at 3-4, at Buffalo 5-1. Buffalo coming off a bye, getting a lot of time to prepare for Aaron Rodgers. Mr. Immunized is going home with an L after this one. Buffalo easy in this one.
Oh,
this is going to be similar to that Rams game.
You ain't got to ask me twice. You know I'm rocking in this game.
It's going to be close to 31-10 for me.
To me, that's exactly what I would around there. This is going to be ugly. And I guarantee you now, next week it's going to come around and be like, I can't believe the Packers pulled that off.
That's how it's been going, man. We sit on this couch and we're fucking confident as hell.
I think this is a game you got to be confident. From what you see from the Packers week to week, it's just
the defense finally stepped up. And Aaron Jones ran for 120 yards.
Like this is how a Packers season would go though. Is they win this game, their season's turned around like that. They're making plays. Aaron Rodgers is back,
6th seed in the NFC.
Like, give me a break, but. I don't see that happening. I just think that Buffalo's got too much power for them.
Yeah, still not having a run game is very worrisome for this Buffalo team. But in this game, I don't think that's going to matter at all. It's going to be quite the ass whooping, in my opinion. Finishing out with Monday Night Football, we have Cincinnati at 4-3 on the road at Cleveland 2-5. I'm going to have to go with the Browns in this one. They've been in a lot of these games. They've been kicking themselves in the foot. I know the Bengals are hot. I know Joe Burrow looks like he's back at college. Cleveland, you need this game to survive. You need to be okay.
That's a Raven fan talking.
By the time Deshaun gets back, and you need to pull this one out your ass somehow. Myles Garrett, I picked you as DPOY. Go get your 3 sacks. Let Cincinnati know that O-line ain't shit. And, stay home in that W, man. Stay home with that dub.
Man, this is Cincinnati all the way. That's all I got to say. Like, Cleveland ain't touching them, bro. I mean, they could probably put up a fight, but they're just pissing away too many games, and that eats at you. I think Cincy, this last game, kind of got them on the right track. I'd be nervous if I'm the Browns.
It's do or die. There's no pressure, man. Go out there and play your game. Give Nick Chubb 30 carries. Keep the ball away from Joey B.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Play good defense. You guys came into the season one of the best defenses potentially.
For sure.
Why are you so terrible? Wake up.
All I've been asking is to be around 500 when Deshaun comes back.
That's all you need to do. This is a great start. 3-5 and get you right back to it. Now you know what time it is. I don't know who your pick is going to be, but
we'll see, man.
It's time to go 6 feet, man. We digging up some graves. So right now we have 4 teams eliminated: Carolina, Houston, Chicago, Washington.
Okay.
Who's your team for the week that you're eliminating?
I got to go with Jacksonville.
Really? That's a surprise.
Yeah.
Why Jacksonville?
I just think being 2-5,
even in the AFC South.
Yeah. I just don't see them fighting back, and this pick could come back and haunt me. But I don't got that confidence in them anymore to turn it around. I mean, they'll have their good games, but they're just not going to have the record at the end of the season to get them over that threshold to get into the playoffs.
That's very interesting because Jacksonville plays a team that I was thinking about eliminating that you also picked to lose this week in Denver.
I mean, Denver is a good team to pick. I just think, for me, it's got to be Jacksonville right now. I mean, I just don't see them making the playoffs.
Oh, man, it's tough to do it. I don't think I can quite do it yet. So I'm going to go, I'm going to eliminate Detroit, man. I'm sorry. I like this team a lot. I think you still can end up around 7-8 wins. But I just think you dug yourself too big of a hole to get out of at this point.
It was just way too big, bro.
1 win after 6 games. Your last 2 games being pretty embarrassing. You're dealing with injuries, DeAndre Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Your defense is no good right now. It's just hard to look at your team and feel confident going forward. So, Detroit Lions, You turned into the Cubs today.
Yep, so that's Jacksonville and Detroit. Get out of here.
And that's it, man. You got any final thoughts?
No, you know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and I mean, let us know your grave diggers and each team you're eliminating each week after what you see. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of bad football going on.
Yes,
These are getting harder and harder to pick.
It's gonna get hard going forward.
So, yeah, this season's just gonna get wilder, I think. I mean, the way games have been going, it's a very consistent pattern where I don't see it breaking anytime soon.
Right.
So it's gonna get wild. It's gonna get interesting. But like I said earlier, I gotta sit back and I gotta enjoy it as a fan as well. Not let this thing rush by and
yes, indeed,
rush to the off season. So gotta take these wins where we can get them as a Raven and as a Viking, and just be happy that we stack these wins. So I'm hoping we get a couple wins this weekend.
Yes, indeed. I know this episode went a little long. We did a recap and a review or preview. We'll be doing the same thing next week, but then, like we said at the beginning of the show, we'll get back to our regular scheduled program. For me, I mean, that's it, man. Like my guy said, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know who you think is out of the playoff contention. Let us know how you think your team is going to do going forward. Let us know how you think your team is going to do this week. We appreciate y'all. Until next time.
All right, bro.